So I think right now the audio would be clear to everyone, and there was a problem with the mic. Now it has been rectified. Good morning, everyone, for the wonderful session that is the Daily Decodes at Insights IAS, where we decode the Hindu newspaper in thorough detail, from international relations to internal security, current affairs, national news, economics news, and definitely the editorial also. And today is 6th of December. It is a very important day for India, and it is a very important day for Bangladesh also. 6th December 1971. What important thing happened on 6th December 91? Please tell in the comment section or the chat section, and why this day is very important. Okay, so with this, now I think the audio is clear to everyone. Okay, it's very much clear. So tell me why 6th December 1971 is important. And by now, let's move towards the class. And thought for the day is: failures are part of life. Failures are part of life. If you don't fail, don't learn. You don't learn, you'll never change. So failure is a part of life. Don't see failure as this is the end of my journey. Failure is not the end of a journey. Rather, failure is the start of the journey. Failure is only telling you where are you lacking. For example, if out of 10 marks, 5 marks are passing and you are only getting 3 marks, that area of 2 marks is what you need to work. And it is not only that you need to work for 2 marks, you need to work harder so that you come into 6, 7, 8 and excel like anything. So don't take failure as the end of the life or as the end of the competition, end of the success. Rather, it is a benchmark. It is the catalyst where you need to cross over and move towards your success. So important news which we would be covering today is ISRO successfully launches PSLV C-59 rocket with ESC Proba 3. Very important. ESC is European Space Agency. ESC is European Space Agency, and this was PSLV C-59 61st flight. So it is again and again telling the world that it is successful and it is usable at a very good rate. Bhutan and India discusses Gallifrey project and hydro power plants. If you remember, we had discussed Gallifrey project on 26th November Daily Decodes also, and I told you it is important. See, it has come again, and that time Bhutan Prime Minister had come. Now Bhutan King had come, and he has met Prime Minister Modi, and there has been a lot of discussion in UPSC prelims impact Gallifrey project. We'll talk about it. What's happening in Syria? I promise that we'll talk about Syria in yesterday's session, that what is currently happening in Syria and how the crisis has come again for Bashar al-Assad. Oh, and then in editorial, a 3-nation visit as a foray into summit diplomacy. This is a 3-nation visit, a prime minister visit to Nigeria, then to Rio de Janeiro in Brazil and Guyana, and why this visit is important and what Prime Minister India has been able to achieve. And then we have standard Q&A tidbits and extra mile. Okay. So let's move towards that. Before I move, OGP 2026 batch is starting on 2nd January 2025. 10% early discount is available at 20th December 2024. For all details, you can scan this QR code, and you can also call on this number 8069 40 5205. Apart from that, this course would be covering GS, CSAT and essay, plus weekly, daily weekly revision, test for prelims, mains, full length test. Everything is available here for your preparation. So let's move towards the first news now. Okay, so let's move towards the first important news. PSLV C-59 places Proba 3 satellites into designation orbit with precision. So wonderful news coming from space, and specifically it is also showing the prowess and potency of ISRO, its commercial arms, and how we have the capacity to send satellites of other nations and other agencies. So ISRO has successfully launched European Space Agency Proba 3 satellites abroad. PSLV C-59 mission. This is again for the Proba 3 satellite would be something studying your artificial solar eclipses. It would be able to do artificial solar eclipses. Again, for the study of sun, we'll talk about that. Launch was conducted from Satish Dhawan Space Center, which is also known as SDSC, from Sri Harikota. mission marks the 61st flight of PSLV and the 26th using the PSLV XL configuration. So again and again, these missions are showing that when it comes to PSLV, we are setting the benchmark in the world. So mission objective is to deploy ESA Proba 3 project for onboard autonomy satellites into highly elliptical orbit. From prelims point of view, a question can come that it was launched in circular orbit. Okay, it is not circular orbit, it is elliptical orbit. Please remember that. It is elliptical orbit. The Proba 3 satellite was weighing somewhere around 550 kg approximately. Okay, some comments have come for host. Sorry for the mistake. Now the audio is clear. Yes, no issues. Bangladesh liberation, Indo-Pakistan war, Bangladesh. Yes, yes. Bangladesh Liberation Day. But when we are talking about Bangladesh Liberation Day, what kind of liberation Bangladesh is happening right now? And the comments which has come from Bangladesh, Muhammad Yunus and his minister, information minister, that we are trying to, get into their internal affairs, trying to disrupt their autonomy. They should realize that it is our forces, it was our prime minister at that point of time, because of which Bangladesh had got created. If India would have not supported, there would have been no Bangladesh, and the Pakistan, its Operation Searchline and decimation of Bangladeshis would have continued. Rather than realizing that today they are again shaking hands with the same Pakistan who was behind the demolition and butchering of Bangladeshis. This is something they need to think about on this Liberation Day. Have they actually got liberated, or they are still under the colonial era, I would say, under the colonial or the hegemony of Pakistanis? Something to think about for them. Anyways, coming back, precision deployment, satellite separates 18 minutes after the launch. First launch pad, FLP SDSE Satish Dhawan Space Center, Shar, Harikota range, from where it was being launched. Later, Proba 3 involves 2 spacecraft flying in formation with millimeter precision. So this would be like a single large spacecraft, that is, they would be flying, and eventually they would be separated after some time. And currently they are being, the mission is being controlled from ESA Mission Control in Belgium. Separation is scheduled early in the new year. And what is the main focus of these satellites? Artificial solar eclipse, capable of creating artificial eclipses to study sun's corona for extended duration. If you know, we also have an Aditya L1 mission which is also based on studying the sun and parameters regarding that. Similarly, in this one also, if you see, focus is on artificial solar eclipses and most importantly study the sun's corona. Mission introduces advanced formation flying technology. So this is the significance of the mission. Artificial eclipses will prolong solar observation, benefiting the solar research. So because of these artificial eclipses, they would be able to study sun's corona in detail. And this detail is very important for not only for Europe or for America, but for all over the world. This research would be helping us. It highlights India's growing collaboration in international space mission and ISRO's capability from a commercial point of view, that how we are growing. And it also shows, the space, which is billion dollar industry and moving towards trillion, that in future when these multiple satellites would be, they go towards space and they would be looking for a reliable partner. India, from economics point of view, from resource point of view, would become among the top ones. It's already a top one. So the MCQ question, mission carried 2 satellites weighing approximately 5 kg, circular. It was not a circular orbit, it was an elliptical orbit. Proba 3 satellite is designed to perform precise formation flying to simulate a single spacecraft. Correct. This was the 61st flight of PSLV rocket by ISRO. Absolutely correct. Second and third statement are correct. Answer is B. Let's go to the next important news. That is Bhutan and India discuss Gallifrew hydel power projects. Yes, sir, Bangladesh liberation from democracy and establishment of autocracy in current day status. Who is saying that? XE404. I totally, understand your thought process, and this is what currently we can see. Anyways, we hope that Bangladesh changes. Anyways, coming to this news, that is Bhutan and India discuss Gallifrew hydel power plans. So let's get into this. And if you see, I had covered this topic on 26th November also. Bhutan pitches Gallifrew as the biggest cooperative project. So that is why, if you follow current affairs on daily basis, now this news has come again. That time the Prime Minister had come, now King had come, and King is pushing for this project. Adani is also involved in this project, Adani Group. And this, once if the news keep on hammering, then you don't need to mug up information. You don't need to cram information. Rather, it would be the flow of information would be very smooth if you follow newspaper day-to-day basis. Okay, now let's go to this. So Bhutan, if we talk about Bhutan ambitious Gelifu, it is called Gelifu Mindfulness City Project. Okay, it is a smart city project and huge amount of investment is required in it, and it is the biggest cooperative project in Bhutan. Since it's a cooperative project like we have Amul and so many projects in India, so they also want to learn from India that how cooperatives operate. India have huge amount of experience when it comes to cooperatives. Okay, in cooperatives, everyone becomes a stakeholder, people become the stakeholder. So in Bhutan, when they want to do this Gelifu mindfulness project, they want every Bhutanese to become the stakeholder into this. So in this project, from opening convention centers to yoga, they are focusing a lot on things so that overall the tourism increases in the country, and it also increases more economic growth and more employment opportunities. So this will span 2500 square kilometers, 2500 square kilometers, zero carbon smart city aimed at sustainability and mindfulness. And Bhutan is one of the most happiest cities, happiest places on Mother Earth also. So in this context, if this can be combined with these kind of projects, it would be cohesively, economically very good for Bhutan. So city is envisioned as a hub for knowledge, technology, finance, emphasizing mindfulness, sustainability and harmony. So from climate change point of view, or from greenhouse gases point of view, net zero, basically from climate change point of view, it is a very good project. Sustainability point of view, very good project. Employment point of view, very good project. Economics point of view, very good project. So on the right track, Bhutan. And Prime Minister Modi has reaffirmed India's continued support for the project, from economic and investment linkages, whatever the investment they want, whatever kind of economic support Bhutan wants in this project, that would be given to Bhutan without any doubt. And this has been said by Prime Minister Modi. It is coming from the top head of the nation. Okay. So it is coming from the top executive head of the nation. Let me put that way. Okay. Now, this is the project. I had shared pictures on 26th November also. These are the project. This is your Gelifu. So, this would be your Gelifu Mindfulness City project. So, this is your GMCP. Okay, GMCP, I'm correct, right? Yes, city project. So, Gelifu Mindfulness City Project, this is the project and this is the kind of development they're asking. Obviously, huge amount of money is required to do this project, investment is required. But once done, the amount of tourism which can increase in Bhutan would be like anything. And we should also be wary about what is China trying to do. Now, Nepal, just yesterday, they signed the BRI deal, and I pity Prime Minister Oli that you are signing this BRI deal for the debt crisis, which everybody knows what happens in BRI. So they have gone, and in the current context also, the Bangladesh has also had to having good relationship with us. What we are seeing, our foreign secretary Vikram Misri now would be traveling, I think around 6th or 7th, today or tomorrow he would be traveling to Bangladesh around this week. And he would be having discussion what is happening between India and Bangladesh. Why I am talking about Bangladesh and Nepal? Because with two neighbors, the relationship doesn't look to be very good. Prime Minister Oli, who is a communist, he has always been very supporter of China in these China deals. He need to learn what is happening with Pakistan or in Gwadar port, or what is happening with Sri Lanka and Hambantota port, or rather already happened. The Hambantota port, the investment happened and Sri Lanka was not able to give back even the interest on that payment. Now that port has gone to China for 99 years lease. Similarly, Nepal also needs to realize that when they are taking the Chinese investment, how it is coming and what are the parameters regarding it. The foreign minister of the Nepalese government, which comes from a different party, which is more or less supporter of India, they have categorically told that we are not looking from loans from China, rather we are looking aid. If you are giving aid, we will be taking the money. But Prime Minister Oli right now doesn't look to care. Let's see what eventually comes out. So in this context, the importance of India investing in Bhutan, Bhutan's strategic area and alignment around Sikkim and the northeast is very important for India from the point of view of China also, strategic location. So this would be the project. And so India and Bhutan engaged in discussion on bilateral cooperation, electricity, urban planning, the visit of King Jigme Khesar Nangmyal Wangchuk, and her queen has also come, Queen Jetsun Pema, to New Delhi. So they had discussion on hydropower initiatives and Gelifu Mindfulness City project. Discussions including 1020 megawatt Punat Sangchu 2 hydropower project, which is almost on the completion, early conclusion, not on the, it's a yes, near completion. So there has been emphasizing completing it fast. Commitments were made for reservoir hydro project and finalize modalities for new ventures which can happen between India and Bhutan. It is very important for India that Bhutan remains on our side, because currently it looks like how Bangladesh is moving and sitting on the lap of Pakistan, or sitting, tying knots with China, does not look to be good. And China on the other side had meetings with BNP, the BNP party also, and on the side with the Jamaat-e-Islami. Now Jamaat-e-Islami is a right-wing terror group, okay, and they have direct links with Pakistan's ISI and the army. So that's not a good news for India. Diplomatic context, the visit of Bhutanese royal follows the visit of PM Shering Tobge, which we had covered on 26th November. Now it is 6th December we are covering. So you can see news keep on coming, and if you start following, it becomes very easy to know what is going on. Oli just ditched India first policy. Sir, we are not getting PDF. Okay, Shreya, I will be working on this. Why are you not getting the PDF? Why it is not being uploaded? Okay, let me just, PDF is basically, Shreya, uploaded after 2 or 3 hours. If some classes, the previous classes, it is not being uploaded, please let me know. Okay, so November, underlining Bhutan's engagement with India's amid changing regional dynamics. Meeting occurs in backdrop where India faces diplomatic challenges in the neighborhood. Bangladesh and Nepal I have discussed. So a statement has come in which it is written that the Nepal Prime Minister went to China, coming instead of India. There's also need to be tell you, India did not even invite him. India invited the foreign minister but not the Prime Minister, because foreign minister comes from that Nepalese Congress party, something like that, and she and her party is more pro-India. And PM Oli is anyways more focused towards China. Why this comment has come? Because whenever a new Prime Minister comes in Nepal, the first official visit is always towards India. And we also need to realize today also the maximum trade which is happening between Nepal with any country is India. So China will take a lot of time to start doing trade or replace India. So regional implication, Gallifrey project and hydropower plants symbolize India's efforts to maintain strong bilateral relations with Bhutan amid increasing Chinese influence in the region. So the relationship of Bhutan and China is very complex. China would need to work very hard to change it. On the other hand, with Nepal, India needs to increase more diplomatic relationship, and more cohesiveness should work with Nepal, so that we can the India-Nepal relationship also stabilizes. India-Nepal relationship is not right now like Bangladesh, but we can make it better what it used to be. Okay. Bhutan collaboration with India, especially on energy and connectivity project, it also reaffirms our collaboration, reaffirms our neighborhood first policy. India has always worked on neighborhood first policy, that helping the neighbors, even if it is a quid pro quo, India is ready to give 60 and take 40. Okay. So this is the UPSC mains question. You can go through it and take the help of the PDF in this to answer it. And all the students who are looking for a dedicated UPSC mains prelims test series for coming examination, you can enroll in this course. You can get the details by scanning this code or calling on the number which I had shared. This course starts on 8th December 2024. It's a very detailed test analysis, but if you are only looking for prelims or mains, that is also available. You can go through these slides. This is for prelims, which will include NCERT and subject-wise test also, and this is for mains. Like you only want that, sir, we are only interested in mains test series, we are only interested in prelims test series, or we are interested in both. So you can take whatever you can choose. Okay, prices and everything has been mentioned here, and discounts are available. Now let's go to the next important news. What's happening in Syria? Okay, now this article came on yesterday, but it was not in the newspaper. Today also a Syrian article has come. It is written by the same author, Stanley Johnley, who covers international relations and sometimes security news also on The Hindu. So we have taken this, and I'll make you understand what is currently happening in Syria and why it is so important. Okay, so this is the one which has come in today's newspaper. You can also go through this one also. Okay. So Syria's renewed conflict and changing dynamics. So Syria, for the last couple of years, things looked stable there. There were rebels out there, and there were Kurds forces also. So the major problems, what has happened in Syria, there are multiple groups, and multiple groups are supported by multiple governments. Like Bashar al-Assad, whose regime is supported by His regime is supported by Russia, Iran, Iraq and all these countries, and similarly some other rebels or groups have been supported by America and European countries. So Syria has basically become a hodgepodge where every country or superpower behind it or a mega power behind it or a country with better weapons behind it trying to find their own area around it. So Syria, which saw a relative calm in civil war since 2016, it was more or less calm, though the most of the parts of the country were destroyed, but now it has plunged back into conflict after Islamists launched a surprise offensive last week. So from Aleppo they have started, or the focus is toward capturing important cities, and now their focus is to get towards Damascus. Damascus is the capital of Syria, and if they are able to do that, that would be a direct threat, or that would be directly questioning that if Bashar al-Assad, he has any power in Syria left or not. So militants have made significant territorial gains, gaining the seizing of the city Aleppo, which came as a surprise, and it was now advancing into Hama. Now the point is that they were able to get Aleppo within weeks. Okay, within weeks they were able to get, and rebels, now these rebel forces have been backed by Turkey. Turkey is supporting it. Now the question is this rebel forces group which we'll talk about it, the terrorist who is handling it or terrorist who is moving this group, he is a US designated terrorist. First problem. But Turkey is a part of NATO, and so if it is a part of NATO and it is supporting this group, there has to be some kind of support which might be coming from America. So there is something which is going behind the action. Once we reach the map, we'll also talk about that. So how has Syria control map changed in the week? What has happened? So in 2015, Assad regime was the brink of the collapse, controlling only Damascus and Alawite dominated coastal areas. So Assad regime was falling. At that point of time, Iran came and Russia came, and because of that support, his regime was able to stand back. So while various faction groups were like Islamic State came in Syria, then Al-Nusra came in Syria, IS came in Syria, and Free Syrian Army FSA held regions. So these splinter groups or these terror groups had also come, which included Free Syrian Army, Al-Nusra, Islamic State, and at this point of time, Bashar al-Assad, his regime was falling, and at that point of time, Iran came, Hezbollah came. Iran and its all proxy groups, it can be Hamas, Hezbollah, Houthi, all these groups supported Bashar al-Assad, and Russia also supported. They did a lot of bombings, and eventually the government of the Russian intervention was able to help Assad forces backed by Iran, Hezbollah to recapture key territories such as Aleppo in 2016. Now he has lost Aleppo again to these rebels, and that is what the major problem is coming. Okay, and that is what the major problem is coming. By 2016, war had entered a frozen stage, Idlib remaining under militant control. Last week, militants from Idlib launched an offensive quickly and seizing Aleppo suburbs and the city itself. We'll come to the map, you'll understand. The militants have doubled their territorial controls less than a week and are advancing towards Hama and controlled by Kurdish rebels in northeast. So if you see map, this will help you better. Let's go to map. So if you see this area, if you see Aleppo, and behind Aleppo, let me see if, okay, now this is a better map. So terrorists were, or rather I should say rebels already had this area, Idlib. Okay, this which is backed by Turkey. Now they have been able to capture Aleppo within weeks. Now they are moving towards Hama, then they are moving towards Homs, and eventually under Homs there would be your Damascus also. So there, this area. So Damascus is the capital of Syria. Now rebels are again rising, and again whenever these rebels rise, this is the time even the terror groups are rising. I spoke to you, I told you yesterday also that Syrian crisis, again ISIS is trying to grow. And in Sahel region of Africa also, Burkina Faso and all these area. Here also ISIS is trying to go, because whenever these kind of rebel groups, they start to grow, a vacuum is created with the administration, or the government is not able to work. And when there is no government, no administration, this is the correct vacuum for the terror groups to grow. Now this rebel groups which we are talking about, it was in Idlib, it went to Aleppo, they have taken over. Now they are moving to Hama, then they are moving to Homs, and eventually they want to take Damascus. If they are able to take all these areas, this would be a huge failure and would direct question the hegemony or the regime power of Bashar al-Assad. Can he control it? And that is why now Russia and Iran need to focus on it. Now you also need to realize what is happening. Russia-Ukraine war is happening, and currently Russia is decimating Ukraine like anything, okay? And Ukraine is losing territory, many parts of the territory, and even with the ATACMS, the long-range missiles which have been given to Ukraine by the Americans, 300 kilometers. 300 kilometers, not a great range. They still are not able to tackle Russia. Russia is bombarding Ukraine like anything with hundreds of missiles and drones, anything. So in this war, Russia-Ukraine, right now it looks like Russia is on the edge. Now, since Russia is winning that part, and everybody knows when Donald Trump comes to power on 20th of January 2025, he will talk about ceasefire. At this point of time, when ceasefire happens, Russia is not willing to give any territory. Most probably this will happen, and if Ukraine is able to occupy more land, then there can be switch of lands. That say Ukraine say I have one city and Russia says I have 5 cities, or Ukraine say I will give back Russia your 1 city, but you give me back my 3 or 4 cities. So this kind of quid pro quo or barter system can happen, but this is only possible if Ukraine is able to get more territory. Right now Ukraine is not able to move ahead of Kursk because the North Korean forces have come, Houthis have come, and Russians have deployed more than 12,000, 13,000, 14,000 forces with hypersonic and other missiles. They are also firing inter-range ballistic missile they are firing. So these kind of weapons they are using. Now to remove the focus of Russia from Russia-Ukraine force, because entire machinery and armaments of Russia right now focused on the Russia-Ukraine war, and Iran is also focused on the Israel. Now it is important for America or Turkey or any other country that it is important that Russia, which is right now Russia-Ukraine war, it is winning, that their focus goes from here and focus comes here, and their resources, because Russia has multiple bases in Syria. They have invested billions of dollars for these bases so that they control Syria and they control Middle East. Now if Russia start losing these bases, it would be creating havoc for them in the Middle East, because they had invested, they have contacts. That is why Russia's attention from Ukraine might move towards it, and that can give some leverage to Ukraine to win the war against, or at least get more territories towards Russia-Ukraine. So this is the geopolitical game which is going on. America will never say that they are backing these rebels, because if they say it, because this is a terror group. So Turkey is backing, but Turkey is a NATO member, and Turkey being a NATO member cannot do something on its own, specifically when it has the backing of the Americans. So this is the bigger geopolitical game which is going on, that why suddenly this has happened. Okay. So the terror group name or the rebel group name is HTS, that is Hayat Tahrir al-Sham. Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, and this group was also earlier associated with Al-Qaeda. It was earlier also associated with Al-Qaeda. Hopefully now you understood what is happening. Okay. So led by Bashar al-Assad, backed by Russia, Iran, Shia militants from Iraq, hold strong. So these are different groups which are in the Syria, so that you understand. Syrian regime, this is led by Bashar al-Assad. They have been backed by Russia, Iran, and Shia militants from Iraq, hold strongholds in Damascus, coastal region and minority populated areas. Then you have SDF. SDF has decent relationship with the Syrian regime. It's an umbrella group including People's Protection Unit and Syria's Kurdistan region, maintains a truce. So a decent relation means that they have a ceasefire truce with the regime focusing on Islamic State remnants. So they are focusing on IS remnants and to eliminate them. So SDF and Syrian regime, they are kind of on a truce, and now this is the major group problem which is creating it. This is that HTF I am talking about. And when you talk about this person, Abu Muhammad Julani, so on media someone says it's Julani, Gulani, so anything can be its name. So the main anti-regime forces controlling Idlib, this is where the major problem is coming. This is the rebellious group. It is led by Abu Muhammad al-Julani, evolved from al-Nusra and aims to overthrow Assad. So it evolved from al-Nusra. Okay. So it was initially part of Al-Qaeda Syrian branch, Al-Nusra. So Al-Qaeda Syrian branch was known as Al-Nusra. It used to be part of it. But now this person has categorically told that I don't have anything to do with Al-Qaeda, because he knows if he says then anything to do with Al-Qaeda, then the Americans will come. So very smart statements he is giving. So backed by the Turkey-aligned Syrian National Army. And he also says this HTS has also allowed Christians to follow their rights. So he is saying that we are very open-minded militant group, or they don't say militant group, we are rebel group, that we have allowed Christians to do their holy duties and everything. So why is he saying that? So that Europeans and Americans keep backing him behind the camera, if not in front of it. Okay. So it is led by Abu Muhammad al-Julani, US designated terrorist and former lieutenant of Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi. So he used to be earlier working with ISIS. Abu al-Bakr Baghdadi, he was killed by US. Please remember, the statement had come from Trump at that Baghdadi is dead. That is what Trump in his first presidency had said. Now he was the lieutenant of that time. Now he might be getting support from America or not, which we don't know. But it looks like Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi was related to ISIS. So initially he was part of Al-Qaeda's Syrian branch, which was Al-Qaeda's Syrian branch, that is Al-Nusra. Julani broke away from the autonomous militant group. HTS consolidated power in Idlib, creating parallel state. Once he was able to get Idlib, then he went to Aleppo. From Aleppo, he is going to Hama, Homs, and eventually focus is to get Damascus. HTS retains the Islamist ideology. It has distanced itself from Al-Qaeda, declared primary fight against Assad, not the US. Now, these are very important statements. He said that I don't have any fight against the Americans. I am away from Al-Qaeda. My fight is towards Assad. And when he is saying my fight is against Assad, Assad is supported by Iran and Russia. Now in the current context, if you see, Americans have a problem with Russia, Israelis also have a problem with Iran, and Russians have also been supplying arms to Israelis' enemies. So in this context, from one arrow of this group, the Americans are trying to shoot multiple enemies. This can be a geopolitical, thought process, which is obviously not in the front of the camera, but we can see this, why this is happening, because Turkey cannot support these groups like anything, because it is a NATO member. So there is some, conspiracy behind it. So why did militants launch an attack now? Because very simple, Russia is preoccupied. I've already told you they are busy with the Ukraine war. Focus is there. So they might not be able to focus here. Though Russians have started, they are bombing the Idlib like anything, where the this HTS group is primarily there. Iran's Quds forces were commanded by Qasem Soleimani, which was again assassinated. And now since Qasem Soleimani is not there, these Quds forces are not strong. They have weakened, and that is why this rebel group is trying to occupy area. Hezbollah, we already know now, Hezbollah has been asked, as per the ceasefire, that they need to move north of the Litani River. And Hezbollah is not as strong what it used to be after the recent bombardments of Israel. So it looks like a very global plan, and a plan which was being made, how Israel will decimate Hezbollah, Hamas, Houthis, and now this battle is starting in Syria. So it looks like a very big game plan which is there. First we will demolish these Hezbollah and everyone, then we'll start these rebels, and the focus of Russia might shift here. So again, it looks like a big geopolitical war strategy is behind this. Okay, so vulnerability of the region is there. Russia, Iran, Hezbollah regime troops became vulnerable. Militants backed by Turkey exploited this weakness to rapid advances. Strategic opportunity. HTS saw a chance to expand territorial control amid the region's weak defenses. This is what we have already discussed, this vulnerability of the region. Now the only question is that vulnerability of the region has been deliberately made, or it was just a chance. And when you talk about geopolitics and international relations, it's never a chance. It is always there is someone behind it. And even what happened in Bangladesh, some had put that question, that Americans are behind that. They might be, Democrats might be behind it. But Trump coming on 20th January might change things. So is the regime in danger? Yes, definitely the loss of Aleppo poses a question, and not weeks, 4 days. I beg your pardon, I had said in weeks they have occupied. Rather, I meant with the preparation and everything. When the advances started, they were able to occupy Aleppo. So rebels have entered Hama, then they're moving towards home, and then the focus is Damascus. Assad regime, which deeply rooted in coastal region and minority groups, now faces a full-blown civil war. So from 2016, which we had seen some kind of stability in Syria, it is again being questioned mark. Okay, so rest we have done. So reinforcement from Iraqi militants like, yes, Katabi, Hezbollah and other organizations have joined the battle, but Hezbollah is not that as strong as it used to be. So again, a lot of resources from Iran and Russia would be put against this to fight it. So this way, US may be kind of winning this. So HTN, its lies sense of opportunity to consolidate gains. Assad forces are regrouping with external support, setback indicator long, and a war is there which might be imminent, and a civil war will start, and again Syria can get into this crisis. Many terror groups can again emerge. So not at all good news coming from Middle East. And please say Syria is sharing borders. It's very near to Israel. So it's not even a good news, because the ripple effect of terror groups does not fall on that country. It can be on other countries as well. Okay. This is the question of mains. Let's move to the editorial. I'm attending session fully enthusiastic. Don't distract your attention from the session. District Collector Surya, I think I am doing a decent job at that I am giving full attention. But if some comment has come and it is asking a question, we need to reply that so that the person understands, because that is what this is, the interactive class. It is not only one flow, na? So that is why a lot of effort goes in building this class and delivering these lectures. And many students have genuine questions. Okay, so if you have a question, please ask, and I know where is my focus. Okay. So PM 3 nation visit and summit diplomacy. So Prime Minister visited, in the month of November, he went to Nigeria, he went to Rio de Janeiro, he went to Guyana, and it was a stupendous visit. It was a 6-day visit with multiple meetings of Prime Minister and his diplomatic team, which also included External Affairs Minister, and multiple meetings in Nigeria, then multiple meetings in G20 summit, where he was meeting from, he met the Italian Prime Minister, Australian Prime Minister, and UK's Prime Minister. Multiple Prime Minister he had met for deals and everything, which we had discussed in the previous Daily Decodes, from education to culture and to weapons technology. We had discussed that. So in that context, the Rio meeting was very successful. Apart from G20, these meetings were done, and Guyana, it was also very successful. We'll try to understand why this was done. So it showcased India's evolving foreign policy priorities and its commitment to summit diplomacy. So spanning 3 geographically distinct regions, that is Africa, then it is Latin America, and then it is Caribbean. The visit highlighted India's effort to engage in bilateral, regional and global diplomacy. So India is also realizing that it is not only the superpowers of the world or the European countries like Nigeria, Guyana and Rio. Obviously it was a G20 summit out there. The focus of India on global south is increasing like anything. Even in the BRICS summit, we were talking about global south. When we talk about global south, it is basically countries which comes in geographical southern part, southern hemisphere, and who have been under colonial regime earlier, or there has been imperialism on these countries, and they are economically trying to grow. Because if you see geographically, India is not part of the global south, or China is also not part of the global south. But we talk about this, we come into global south because we were under a colonial rule and imperialism was there, and we are also developing like these countries. That is why even BRICS also talks about global south, and everywhere there is a huge discussion, global south, global south, global south, because this is global south, which would be the next developing to developed phase the world will see. Okay. I'll come to that economics part later. I'll come to that Parikshit and what is happening with Shaktikanta Das. Let me just wrap this up. So PM visit to Abuja, Nigeria. Abuja is the capital, was a full-scale state visit to Africa's most populous nation and 4th largest economy. Now we are realizing, we have already realized, and there is a huge amount of expatriate Indian population in Nigeria also, and Nigeria is also part of ECOWAS. Rather, it is the chairship. It is due to the chairship of Economic Community of West African States. 15 states are there. It is a political and economic group. So India's trade with this group can be enhanced for our export and imports. It would be very important. So Nigeria, key partners in India's African policy, has gained prominence due to chairship of ECOWAS, and ECOWAS has been part of, it has 15 African countries, and again, trade point of view, very important, and Nigeria is the fourth largest economy in this area. From economy point of view, from trade point of view, from diplomacy point of view, India needs to integrate itself a lot in Africa. Russians and Chinese are already doing it, Americans are already doing it. In that context, India also need to do it more. So PM received the keys of the city to Abuja, award given. So all good things happening. It is only that, all these things were done. Only 3 MOUs were signed between India and Nigeria. I am hoping that more memorandum of understanding can be signed. And when we'll talk about Guyana, Prime Minister Modi talked about 7 pillars which India and Guyana should work on. We'll come to that also. So discussion emphasized trade, investment, energy, education, culture, digital transformation. So from European world to the America to other areas, from the various continents, from Asia, Africa, Prime Minister is traveling everywhere and doing wonderful treaties. I hope that the problem which is majorly is that around our neighbors, from Pakistan to China to Bangladesh to Nepal, if we can resolve these differences, there is a huge potential which will help India to grow. So commitments are made for joint combat, to jointly combat terrorism, extremism, and radicalization. Radicalization is a big issue. Terrorism is a big issue. Already we have discussed what is happening in Middle East, where this new group is rising, this rebel group is rising, which is backed by Turkey. Okay, and it is used to be affiliate of Al-Nusra, which was part of Al-Qaeda's in Syria. And the, this Julani, which is the main person heading it, he was the former lieutenant of Baghdadi, and Baghdadi was head of ISIS. Not good news coming from there. Okay. Now moving further, new areas of collaboration: renewable energy, urban transport, agriculture. So despite the political closeness, only 3 MOUs were signed. So I think it will increase India-Nigeria friendship and emphasize Nigeria's role in strategic partnership. So when we talk about G20, again a wonderful summit was being done there, and again in G20 summit at Brazil, the focus was again on sustainable. Prime Minister Modi was saying that Brazil is continuing what India started in New Delhi 2023. So Prime Minister represented at the 19th G20 summit in Rio de Janeiro in Brazil. Social inclusion was the focus, sustainable development and global governance reforms. These are standard things which, again and again comes in various meetings. Social inclusion, global alliance against hunger and poverty, this is increasing. We need to tackle hunger and poverty. Renewed commitments on sustainable development, but nothing on climate change is working. The focus of Baku, Azerbaijan was to get $1.3 trillion a year. We got $300 billion, which we don't know when is it coming. Global governance reforms, adoption of roadmap for better, bigger and more effective multilateral development banks. Okay. Apart from that, there were multiple meetings which were done, addressed ongoing conflict in Europe and West Asia, economic development, climate change. PM held, meetings on the sidelines with bilateral meetings from United States, Europe. That was your the meetings which were done with UK. It was done with Italy, and then also a meeting with Australia, global South nation. Jay Shankar also met Chinese Wang Yi out there, the foreign minister. Again, more visas, Kailash Mansarovar Yatra and all this. So, a very good trip, I can say that. So, Guyana, let's talk about the Guyana, which was the third part of the visit. So, the Prime Minister mainly spoke about these 7 pillars of cooperation, which is capacity building, agriculture and food security, cricket and culture, ocean economy, medicine, health, innovation and trade, renewable energy and climate change. These were the main 7 pillars India and Guyana wants to work, and Modi was focusing on this. PM emphasized on this and his alignment with CARICOM priorities. So India hosted the second CARICOM India Summit in Georgetown, where PM talked about this. 10 memorandum of understanding were signed in energy, defense, urban development, education, food security, and Caribbean nation with energy resources. Now, Guyana is important because of the energy resources. India is importing 85% of oil and gas from outside. Today, we are importing a lot of oil and gas from Russia. But if the Russia-Ukraine war stops and Russia starts supplying back to European countries, today India is buying from Russia because it is at discounted price. So, in this context, it is very important for India to find other partners from which we can import this oil and gas. Okay. So with this, these are the focus, and Guyana President Irfan Ali lauded PM as the champion Angam leader. So these were the major key takeaways demonstrating India's regional commitment. Nigeria, Brazil and Guyana enhancing global influence. Bilateral and multilateral diplomacy was done at various junctures, be it from Nigeria, be it from Guyana, or the sidelines meetings which were done at G20. And Guyana's recognition of PM leadership also amplifies, how we are handling the relationship, how we are handling bilateral relationship, and how India's presence globally is going on. So this is the UPSC mains question. You can go through this. And in the extra mile, you can go through this. Is Syria Assad regime in danger? So what we have done, this is in addition to that. Go through this. This would be helping you. And Israel war in Gaza putting the global order at peril. So these are two news articles which you can go through. The early one would be easy. So thank you very much for this. And there was a comment. Yes, sir. What is the agenda objective of overthrowing the regime to establish US dominance? Not exactly. Right now, I feel that the US is not focusing on, to control Syria. That's not the major point. And US basically wants that the shift of Russia from Ukraine happens here. Right now, Russia, so that Russia is not able to occupy more territories in Ukraine, because still the Democrats are in the power. So I'm talking from the Democrats' point of view. When Trump comes in power, it would be a very different ball game altogether. And right now, Democrats want that the Russia weakens there, Ukraine occupies more territory, so that when ceasefire and the barter or quid pro quo happens, Ukraine also is on advantage. There is one more comment from Parikshit sir. RBI kept the repo rate. Yes, that's a problem. Shakti Kanta Das has been pressure, he has been under a pressure from minister also to reduce the repo rate, to basically reduce these interest rates, so that more money can be, more money can be put in the economy, and overall the demand increases, because demand is right now, urban population is buying less and loans are very expensive. But the problem with the RBI is that RBI also needs to control the inflation, keep it under 4%. So this is the problem Shakti Kanta Das is having, the RBI is having. And will Shakti Kanta Das also get more tenure or extension? We also need to see, because he has been voted, the best central bank governors for, multiple times. So this is the problem RBI is facing, controlling inflation and majorly the food inflation versus more impetus and money in the Indian economy. So in this, that might be the reason they might have not gone for it. So anyways, thank you very much. It was lovely talking to you on Daily Decodes. We'll meet tomorrow again. Thank you very much and Jai Hind. Okay, thank you very much and Jai Hind. I hope you enjoyed the session. Bye-bye.